Hi. Okay, maybe you're sitting home in quarantine and realizing you got a lot of mending to do in that closet. One of the simple things to save you from throwing away a good pair of pants is to replace a button. So we're going to do that. So let's say you have this pair of pants, and we're actually going to hem these pants too. So as you can see, most of the time when the button falls off, the threads are still there, which is good because then you know what color thread to use. So the first thing you want to do is, this is a seam ripper, but you can use any sharp tool. You can use scissors and try to remove all the threads, which I did. And then it leaves you with the little holes on there. So I'm going to zoom in a little closer. So you see the little holes? So you know exactly where the button's going to go, because the button has to line up perfectly with the buttonhole for it to work well. Okay, the next thing you do is look at the button that you have, and hopefully you have the one that came with the pants. If not, you might have to dig around and find something else. So the first thing I do is I look at this button, and it's got a ridged top. That's how I know it's the top. So you look for the ridge, and that goes on the top. A lot of my students, I find, sew buttons on backwards, okay, or upside down. So make sure the ridged part is at the top, and then you can line it up pretty easily and then sew it on. All right, so going back to reminding you how to thread a needle. So I found some thread that is similar, maybe not perfect, but pretty close to the color thread that was already used. And then I grab a needle, and here's a quick tip on how to thread your needle. The first thing you want to do, even if you think it's okay, cut off the top of that thread right there, and I give it a little bit of spit, and I squeeze it between my two fingers like this. So I squeeze it between, and then I look for the hole, and I lay the hole right over top, and then I just open my fingers, and it slides right on. I know that looked super simple, and it really is, but of course, I've been doing it for a long time. So again, and a lot of people try to do this. They're like, oh, could I get it in? Could I get it in? And that's really hard. So remember, cut, make sure it's not fuzzy at all. Maybe a little spit will do ya. And squeeze between your fingers, lay the open end over top, slide, and then you can easily pull the piece that comes through the eye of the needle. Then you want to take this and you're going to double the thread. It needs to be doubled. So it needs to be 2-ply so that it's strong enough to make it through. I'm going to focus a little better here. Okay, so 2-ply. And the length, I always say, is here's my spool right here. So I'm going to pull this, and I'm going to take my needle as I'm pulling it. And what I'm doing is, you can't see in the camera, but I'm taking the needle to my shoulder. So like from the table to your shoulder, or from the end of your hand to your shoulder, but it's about shoulder length. So, like so, I'm going to cut it off the spool. I'm going to take the two ends, like I have here, and I wrap them around my finger like I'm tying a balloon. So I wrap them around and push it through. Okay, there you go. And I have a knot. And then if it's a little too far from the end, I can always trim off the end a little. All right, so I have a knot. It's doubled, and it's through my needle. So say needle with a knot. All right. Next, I'm going to take my button. Remember, we put it on the spot that it came from. I could actually line it up. This pants is so good, I can line it up with the actual holes. And then I'm going to take my needle from the back side, and I'm going to poke it through. And actually, I could do this to get me started. It's a little easier to poke through like this. Pull to my knot. Then I can insert my button on top just to get it placed. Once you get it placed and get a couple stitches in it, it makes it a lot easier. Now, with a 4-hole button, it typically is an X pattern. So I'm going to sew this in an X. sew diagonal from top right to left bottom. And then I'm always entering from behind. So I know that seems a little difficult, but if you just poke around, you'll start feeling where it is, like that. So then I'm starting on the bottom right side to the top left. And you want to pull that kind of tight. You're going to need quite a few of these stitches. It really depends on the size of the button, the weight of the button, and what you're sewing it to. Since we're sewing it to a pair of pants, that may get a little tension on it, depending on, how much weight I've gained. You'll want to sew this on rather tightly. So as you see, I'm just repeating that X pattern. I always start from the back side and enter through the front side. This will be my last stitch. You see I have it on there pretty well. So what was that? I don't know, 8 or 10 stitches? Okay, you'll know because if you just pull on it, you could feel the tension and make sure it's on really well. Then, when you flip over, you should stay pretty close together there because you don't want a lot of extra thread, and it should not be loopy back there because it should be tight. Then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to try to insert my needle under a stitch or two, like this. I pull it through, and before my loop closes, I'm going to put my needle right back through it, like that. And then I'm going to pull tight. So that kind of knots it. I'm going to do that several times to make sure I have a good secure ending to my fabulous job I did here. Right there. Trim that off. My beginning knot off. And then, of course, I want to make sure that it is secure and it's in the right spot. And I'll know that because that's how it should lay. Your pants should lay straight, and you should have a little bit of room right there, and presto, all done. Okay, next we're going to do a hem. Okay, we're going to hem the bottom of these pants. So, first thing you want to do is turn the pants inside out. So I'm working on the inside of the pants, see how you can tell? Because that's the seam on the inside. So flip them inside out, and then you're going to look at the bottom of the pant leg. So I chose this pair of pants because they're really skinny legged. So it's a real short video for you, but it's really just learning the stitch. So the best pants to do are like khakis because they already have a nice finished edge on them. So this is super, super simple. And most of the time when you have pants like this, you just need about an inch shorter because it's just like hitting the ground and rubbing and maybe tearing up the bottom of the pants. So this is just a simple way to hem a pair of khakis. All right. So once you have it inside out, you're just going to flip it just one time. If you have to flip it more than one time, you're probably going to have to cut it, finish the edge on a machine, and then do it. So again, this is just simple, basic hem without a sewing machine. All right, so once you flip it, then you're going to iron it down first, iron it flat, and then pin it down. Make sure when you flip, you're equal. Just see, I can eyeball this and see how I am there and the distance in here. So you just want to make sure it's the same. So I did that already on the other leg to save some editing time. All right, so there it is. I folded it, I ironed it, and I pinned it. The other thing you want to make sure to do is make sure you don't pin the all together. So you're not pinning all 4 pieces together, just these 2 and these 2. Okay? All right, so let's get sewing. You need to thread your needle again. And so in the beginning of the video, I showed you how to do it. It's the same way. Get it through the needle and then double it about the length of your arm and then knot it in the end. Now, I chose this thread color because I need you to see what I'm doing. Honestly, you wouldn't use this thread color. If I was doing this for reals, I would use white because you want to use a color you can't see rather one that you can see. So you can see this for the purpose of my video, but use a color that's closest to the color of the pants. So a tan or white would be much better for this in real life. All right. So then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to start, I like to start in the seam. And all I'm doing is sticking my needle in to get it anchored to start. So let's see, right here. So to the knot. And I'm actually going to flip it this way because I'm right-handed. So it really just depends which way you can want to go. All right. So next, here's the stitch. The stitch is this. This part of the pants shows because that's the right side. So you don't want the stitch to show. So therefore, what I always tell everybody is take a little tiny bit from that part and then pick up the hem part. Okay, and pull it through. Another trick I'll tell you is see how my thread twisted and it's uneven? You want to straighten up that thread from early on so it doesn't give you troubles. There we go. I'm just straightening that up. All right, so here we go again. So I'm taking a little bit from here, and I mean a little bit. I don't even know if you can see what a little bit I just got. And then that hem, I'm grabbing right from the edge, and I can grab a chunk of that if I want. And then I pull through. Okay, again, I want to make sure my thread is even. Okay, I'm going to keep doing it so you can see the length of my stitches and how much I pick up. So just a little tiny bit from there, and then I pick up from the hem towards the edge of the fold that's there. Here, like this. So as you know, see how my stitches are laying very nicely along the hem, the actual fold. Okay, I'm going to do one more and then I'm going to show you what it looks like on the other side of the pants. So pick up a little there. I'm going to pick a little more there just to show you what it looks like. So as you look on the other side, that one stitch I did, see I picked up a little bit more and now you can see that little dot. Now that little dot would not be noticeable if it was white thread, okay? It's because I use that color, this darker thread. But the goal is not to show it on the opposite side. So as you pick, the smaller you pick up, the less opportunity will be able to show on that side. A little bit and a lot from the head. Awesome. All right, so as you can see how I'm just going along that way. Looks like that. And looks like that on the right side. All right, so let's say I'm going to go all the way around. Remember to make sure you keep your hand in here so you don't sew these two together. You won't be able to get your leg through. Okay, how skinny you are. Okay, so make sure you get all the way through. Let's say you got all the way around, blah, 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 fast forward. And then let's say you came to the end, all right? So you did your last stitch, then you should come to the starting spot. So this was our starting spot, and you're going to tie it off the same way, pretty much the way that you started and the way we ended the button. So what you would do is, let's see how I can show you that. Let me cut this. All right, let's say I did one stitch here. All right, let's say I was finishing up. This is my last stitch. You want to come all the way around to the end, like so. Okay, let's say we're finishing up and we came to the end. Then you're going to pick up from here again. I'm in that seam. And I'm going to make that loop again. So, come on. All right, there's my little loop. Before I close my loop, I put my needle through it. And I pull tight to make a knot. I'll do it again. Before the loop closes, I go through it, I pull tight, and I made a knot. Okay, and then I would cut it off. So, okay, through the magic of video, what I did was I removed this color and then I used the white, which is the right color. So now you can see how my stitches are practically invisible. So I'm on my very last stitch. So as you can see, I took a little bit from the actual pant leg and I went up into the cuff and then I pull through. There we go. Okay. And pull through. Okay. And then I'm going to tie it off. So I'm just going to go up under whatever I can grab a hold of. Through the loop. Pull tight. Do that again. I'm going to take out my pins. There's my focus there. All right, take out my pins. And make sure my pants right tight out. And there you have it. So this is what it looks like on the right side. So as you can see, just all those little dots right there. Can you see them? Those are the thread that you picked up on the right side of the pants. And because it's white, you can't see it. There you go. So that's about a 1-inch hem, which is typically when people buy pants, they just need about an inch. Otherwise, you'd have to cut it and use a machine and then finish it better than that. Anyway, so have fun in quarantine, getting your buttons on your pants and getting your hems done so that you can be a good steward of your clothing. There you go. So your button and your hem. Ta-da! You're a sewing expert.